Hey, Rocio, do you know about Dia de los Muertos?
Yes, it's when my family and I remember our past family members that are now passed away.
So, what exactly do you put on your ofrenda?
Well, we put out some flowers and some food to remember them.
Well, check out this new video that we have for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hello, I'm here with Señorita Garman, and we're going to talk about El Día de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. So, what is Day of the Dead for you?
Day of the Dead is a day to celebrate and honor our loved ones who have passed away.
Day of the Dead, or El Día de los Muertos, is a tradition that I basically grew up doing. It is a celebration, not necessarily of death, but of life. A lot of people get that a little bit wrong and twisted because of the name, but Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, really celebrates the life of the family members who have passed away. And this is a day where the whole family gets together and we do an altar, we do a little ceremony. Some people actually go and spend the night at the cemeteries. And again, this is all in honor of those people, just to remember their lives, to remember how they were when they were alive.
And why is it important to keep the tradition going?
I think it's a really beautiful tradition to honor our loved ones, so I think that it's good that families pass it on.
It's very important because it is actually considered a national holiday. Like, the whole country celebrates it. Usually the smaller towns do like a more traditional Day of the Death celebration, Dia de los Muertos. Some smaller towns have like whole parades. Actually, Mexico City does a full parade, and it just happened this weekend. It's a beautiful parade with floats and people dress up, and it's just like a citywide celebration. And in the smaller towns, people do altar contests, and it's just a beautiful part of our culture. Like, I cannot think of Mexico without Day of the Dead.
So, Ms. Torres, for you, what's the difference between Dia de los Muertos and Halloween?
It is actually a great difference. Halloween didn't really exist in Mexico until so many people migrated to the United States that they kind of started picking up on the tradition or the holiday. It's a borrowed holiday, I call it. Dia de los Muertos is a tradition that goes back to our ancestors, back to the Aztecs, back to the civilizations that existed before the Spaniards came to America. When the Spaniards came to America, they brought their religion with them, and it just so happened to be that Catholic religion actually has something very similar to it, which is All Saints' Day, which is the 1st of November. So it just so happened that they kind of sort of put it together, and we have All Saints' Day on November 1st, which celebrates the children and the pets who passed away. And then November 2nd became the actual Day of the Death, or Dia de los Muertos, which is when we celebrate everybody else who passed away. For us, it's not a day to just dress up and look funny and go out and ask for candy or anything like that. To us, it's more like a way of representing this tradition. So when people pass away, the remains is a skull, the bones. So what you see on us is not a costume necessarily. It's just a representation of this symbol of death. A lot of people get scared with this word, but as I've mentioned before, it is not necessarily that we are honoring death. We are honoring the lives of the people who have unfortunately passed away.
And why is it so important to teach that? And you teach a Spanish class, so why is it important to teach the culture to other students?
I think it's really interesting for the students to see how culture is different in different places, and especially ideas of death, which is something so big.
Well, I became a Spanish teacher because I just love our language. I love our culture and everything that has to do with it. And like I said, this is such a part of us that I just couldn't be a Spanish teacher and not talk about it. I couldn't be Mexican and not talk about it. So it is very important to me, and it is very important that my students understand what it is. The United States has something where they kind of appropriate things, and before you know it, every store has Day of the Dead stuff. There's costumes out there, and I just don't want people to get the wrong idea. Like I said, some people think it's bad things. Some people confuse it with Halloween. So I I show a movie. I do a lesson where I make sure that my students understand the difference between the two, and exactly what Dia de los Muertos is, which is nothing to do with Halloween. So as a teacher, it's very important, as any language teacher or Spanish teacher in this case, it's very important that we all talk about it.
And do you think that it's really important to keep the tradition generation by generation going?
Absolutely. I think it's a really beautiful tradition to honor our loved ones, so I think that it's good that families pass it on.
This is just, a symbol of the holiday and has nothing to do with Halloween. They're two very different things. One of them is like a folk tradition. I don't even know if I should call it a tradition. It's just something that people do. Dia de los Muertos is really a tradition. It's a cultural situation. It's a part of the culture in Mexico. Some other countries in Latin America celebrate it, and I would say that's the big difference. One of them is for fun, I guess, and one of them is part of the culture.
Thank you so much, Ms. Torres.
You're welcome. It's so in our culture that hopefully younger parents learn this from their parents, and they continue the tradition with their own children and so on.